Crank it up, Direhards, and welcome to the Dire Gentleman channel. It's climax time.
And you're about to see one amazing video about one amazing movie.
Let's jam and bam.
Statistically, almost nobody watching this knows what we're about to talk about.
No, all of you who are watching are going to be on a journey that began back in 2021 for the two of us. When we became aware of that one amazing movie.
Yeah, which is an independent film created by a very unique guy called Imari Stevenson. As Gus alluded to, we first discovered this in 2021. We want to quickly shout out the reason why we discovered this. It's a very small YouTube channel called Sorting Algorithms. We'll have links down in the top comment and the description and stuff. He did a really fun video about this, and he's also done some really good videos about a truly painful looking documentary called Heckler and a really bizarre game called was it not Skin Deep? That's a really bizarre movie, Knee Deep. So go sub to Sorting Algorithms, comment on his videos, and tell him the Dire Gentleman sent you.
Exactly, and we'll be linking those three bangers in the top comment down below. So definitely check that out. He was the reason that we found out about this thing in the first place. And man, Henry, it's like we've never looked back.
Yeah, so we're going to be going into heavy spoilers in this video.
Yeah, heavy spoilers for that one amazing movie. The biggest spoiler is that it exists. I should clarify. I'm about to pop open a little bit of vodka for myself because it's going to be that kind of thing.
And admittedly, I'm not going to be drinking for this one because it's 12:54 p.m. But after watching this yesterday, Gus watched it today. It was Meg's birthday, so we went to a burlesque show, and I definitely imbibed while I was there, because this is the kind of movie that if you are of age and don't have dependency issues for this sort of thing, you may want to crack open a cold one afterwards, or during, or before.
I have never felt more sober than I did at the end of this movie.
It is a sobering experience.
Yes. So, okay, so how do we begin talking about this movie? That one amazing movie is one of the comparisons that Sorting Algorithms said in his video was, it's like if there was a Ready Player One of all things that did not exist outside of the maker of the movie.
Yeah, I think another comparison is, like, this is the Avengers Endgame for people who have never seen every single piece of media leading up to this.
It's Avengers Endgame, but the she's not alone scene has all the women get very uncomfortably horny throughout it.
Yeah, so I'm sure this video probably started with a list of trigger warnings and accompanying, like, soft Nintendo music, as Gus is wont to do. On this channel, we are no stranger to discussing bizarre independent films. We've discussed in the past the Donald Trump slasher movie, President Evil, and more recently, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. And this is in a similar camp, but far, far stranger, because Imari Stevenson, the person who created this, as I alluded to earlier, he's had a creative career that I would describe as prolific as it is obscure. This man has made potentially hundreds of things that no one has ever heard of, and this movie is the kind of culmination of all of that, where he brings all of the characters, all of the references to the different things he's made across his decidedly unstoried career, and put them into this one piece of media. And to loosely sum up the plot without any of its bizarre twists, it's about three otaku gamers in North Carolina who are down on their luck, and they are former illegal hackers who are now trying to be legit game developers, and they are developing their VR headset, the Hypermental Homeboy, that they want to pitch at a big game expo. But in order to have the money to go to the big game expo, they need to use their VR technology to defeat a variety of evil AIs created by a dark company that is called Sinitas Yamoan,
Yoneum?
which
Yeah.
is satanic money spelt incorrectly backwards.
That plot description makes it sound a lot more straightforward than it is. This is definitely like, it's got that like very strongly sort of like indie movie, almost home movie vibe to it. There is constant wind interference outside.
And sometimes inside, bafflingly.
There is much to be desired with the cinematography, but the dialogue in this is the biggest sticking point because there are so many moments where the characters will just flub a line.
Whoa, man! You gonna put an eye out with that, man?
I'll put more than just an eye out.
Or deliver perfectly a line that makes no sense.
You know, it's B-force, kind of like G-force, you know. Gravity, instead of using gravity, it's boob force.
Yeah, Imari leaves every single flub in, which is really bizarre because he's shooting on digital. So he has the liberty of as many, like, retakes as his heart desires, but he simply chooses not to do them, even when the, like, line being flubbed is, like, a plot-relevant line.
This is the worst cyber terrorism we've seen.
These characters will be talking on screen, and then sometimes there will be segments where they're in their virtual world, and all of them in the virtual world are not voiced by the same actors that they are outside. It's all just Imari, the director, putting on different voices, doing impressions of these actors.
Who before bro? I don't think so, man. Chicks before dicks, not that I am one. Losers. Let's own this social degenerate ass.
Die!
One of Meg's friends made this comparison yesterday, saying that Imari is kind of like a modern-day Ed Wood.
I can totally see it, actually.
Like, I think that's actually a really apt comparison in that even when the movie is espousing some pretty fucked up ideas, and believe me, it does, it's done in a way that is oddly charming just because you can tell that there is, there is massive, like, societal cynicism in this movie, but no creative cynicism.
Yeah, exactly. It's entirely sincere, and when characters will just go into these monologues about the state of the world and, like, what's happening and, like, you know, how we fix this, how we retain our humanity and all of that, they are, even if they're not achieving, like, a coherent point, they're like, it's important that we're talking about this. I don't know, man. We're just vibing.
I am about fed up with humanity. I mean, just look at the way America's going.
Yeah, seriously.
It's like, it goes against what you would expect the priorities of a script to be. That being, the characters say things that advance the story and have, like, meaningful ramifications to, you know, what is being said around them. Instead, it's just kind of like, they're just kind of riffing over there, is the best way to put it. You know what this movie also reminds me of? Like, what has a similar energy is the movie Food Fight, which I think, you know, people might be familiar with.
A kind of infamous bad movie from the, like, mid-2010s.
Yeah, where it's just, like, a bunch of different, like, food mascots. See, that, again, it's another thing where, like, there's a bunch of, like, crossover from these different, like, characters that people may or may not know. And in Food Fight, there's this tendency that, like, sometimes it will be behaving as, like, kind of like a weird jank kids film. And then every so often, something, like, really uncomfortably sexual will happen. That's something that happens in that amazing movie near constantly. At least, like, once every minute in every virtual section of the movie.
Let's talk about our trio that will be following through the movie, and I feel terrible because I can only remember two of their names.
There's Matt and Drew and Steve.
Okay,
are
right.
The three guys.
Matt, Drew,
Yeah.
and Steve. So Matt is kind of the main guy who is also, as Sorting Algorithms points out in his video, kind of Imari's self-insert, which is really bizarre because Imari not only voices all of these characters, he appears physically later in the film, but we'll get to that when we get to it.
What's even more bizarre is that Matt is, like, seemingly sidelined for a lot of the movie. Like, Steve and Drew do so much more than him in the plot, to the point that, like, I honestly couldn't tell that he was supposed to be the main character until way later on.
Yeah, because this movie just has no recognizable structure. Like, this is, like, you genuinely could describe this as outsider art, because it is a movie made with none of the, like, preconceptions of, like, what a movie should be, beyond that it's all stuff that Imari Stevenson finds cool.
Yeah, and it goes on for almost 3 hours.
Yeah, this is an almost 3-hour movie.
This movie is longer than recent banger of a film RRR.
This rivals some of the, like, Ben-Hur, Ten Commandments epics.
It's a grand... yeah, no, it is a
This is
grand epic on the scale
This is longer
of
than the Ten
Ben-Hur.
Commandments and probably features more religious symbolism, and that was a fucking Bible story. But
Oh my god.
So Matt, our main guy, who I don't remember the name of the actor, and I don't think he would appreciate me citing him here. Who his actor seems very nervous and is unintentionally grinning at the goofiness all the time. Matt Scott is his name. He is a guy with autism and PTSD to the extent that he is unable to work. That is by his own admission in the movie. But he is independently wealthy and lives in a big house that I assume in real life is Amari's.
He's got a sick-ass car, too.
He's got a 10-year-old's idea of a sick-ass car. He, like,
Yeah,
the,
no, it's
the
true,
car
it's
he
true.
drives looks like someone has fired a growth ray at a toy car.
It's true, it's true. I say sick-ass car, not saying that I think it's cool. I mean that, like, that is the way that one would describe a car.
By the
such as
way,
that.
it has, like, a kanji character on the hood, and the vanity plates say, uh-oh.
Uh-oh!
Uh-oh, yeah, which is what you will find yourself saying a lot through this film. So, Matt's family is dead. We don't spend much time on that.
Bob.
But they have left him with an exorbitant amount of money, like over $1 million. But it's left in a way that he only gets 5,000 of it a month. Can't imagine why they wouldn't trust this guy with the whole milli up front.
So, like, that's the thing, like, this movie has such a, it has a such focus on, like, the characters need to, like, make money because they're all, like, you know, neats. With the exception of Drew. Drew has a job.
And Drew's kind of a jerk.
Yeah, Drew's a jerk, because of course he's, you know, the closest thing to, like, what society wants, so he's gotta be a bit of a jerk. They all, like, seemingly need money to live, but they also have so much money because they have, like, these cool cars. Like, every time it shows one of the characters' cars, it's like something you'd see in, like, Andrew Tate's garage.
Yeah.
Like a fucking, like showboat mobile sort of thing.
You're so right.
They also carry around a bunch of, like, fucking, like, swords at random times. They're just brandishing swords while they're, like, talking to each other. And this is not even talking about the VR technology that makes up the backbone of the movie, which for some reason takes them this entire plot of the movie for anyone to even greenlight, even though they're clearly, like, really far along in it. And it's never, like, questioned how they paid to get that far along in, like, developing virtual reality.
Yeah, they've invented the Ready Player One snow crash technology. They can walk through websites as dudes with katanas.
They are Kirito, and they have made the Excel world.
One half of it feels like a 15-year-old boy's anime sex fantasy, and the other half of it feels like it was, like, written by, like, a Unabomber type, like, misanthrope. But Matt says pretty early on in the film, while holding a sword, that video games are the only reason that he hasn't gone on a killing spree and then put a bullet in his head.
Yeah, because that is the thing. It's that, like, part of this is, like, you know, they go to the Space Jam world, the magical dimension where they solve their problems by being, like, cool avatars and beating the video games. And the other half of it is, like, a depressing, like, documentary on the darkness inherent in, like, incel communities and, like, anime clubs.
Half Ernest Klein, half Lucifer Valentine.
Because that's the thing, like, these men, and we've gone over sort of the trigger warnings involved in this, it seems like they are just like, they could stub their toe, and they're just like, that's it! I'm ending it all! I have no more reason to live. I cannot live with a hurt toe. I can't, it's done.
This movie has more suicidal ideation than Smile.
The Smile Demon would have nothing on these guys. Like, just roll up and there'll be like, huh, an attractive person smiling at me? That would never happen. You're so disingenuous. Why don't you go away? I don't trust you.
The Smile Demon would be like, wow, you guys really bummed me out.
Nobody smiles upon us anymore. We're gamers. We've lost everything in the real world. There's a lot of that, by the way. There's a lot of, like, gamers feeling sorry for themselves in this movie.
This is like a Gamergate action sex movie.
Yeah, no, it's like, what if, like, Austin Powers was somebody who was like a gamer frozen from the Gamergate era, unfrozen nowadays, and had to go into a spy thing. So he's all like, what did we do about that Anita Sarkeesian woman?
Austin Powers meets Barbarella, meets Sword Art Online, meets Tron, directed by Darren Aronofsky.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, because like the harder you look at this, the more you see like the cocktail of pop culture that inspired it. But you don't see holistically any of like the individual pieces. Like it's
a name one thing in this image.
Yeah, it's a reflection of the like morass of like Power Rangers, Pokemon, like anime, like Flash movies, like Final Fantasy JRPG games, gaming channels. Like this is like, it's so many different eras, weird adjacent nerd culture bullshit distilled into only the angriest, most like horny bits of it.
It kind of feels like just this is the 2010s as a movie.
Yeah, exactly. It is a distillation of the period where, like, you know, just all of us were not our best selves.
Yeah.
Like the collective sort of like quote unquote Western market was simultaneously like xenophobic towards Japanese JRPG media and anime, but also like fetishizing it to such a degree that it's like, well, if we absorb it and incorporate it into our identities, it can't take us over. And that's what this movie feels like.
Like, it is insane. Okay, so we've already touched on Drew. He's the kind of only sane man of the group. He's kind of a jerk. There are multiple points in these movies where these dudes, despite being like best friends, will just have like badly choreographed fights. Where they'll like fucking flip each other and like
beats the shit out of his friends. They have this like weird like no homo thing about them where just like whenever one of them gets like a little too like, you know, like tender, they'll be like, whoa, like you can't say that. You say that to a woman. We are buddies though. We are close friends though. But don't say that.
This whole movie feels like that one like 10-second bit in The Lighthouse where it looks like Wake and Winslow are about to kiss, and then they assume like a fighting stance and start boxing each other.
Yeah, exactly. So Drew is kind of boring because there's not really much reason for him to be in the like, he doesn't really have like a plot line or anything, but it's because Steve
Our quest is to infiltrate Syntaz Media's stronghold that resides upon the clouds and plant viruses deep into their networks to prevent them from producing false images of fake maidens with no asses, no tits, nothing.
This man is like maybe the most fascinating character in all of this, and like the energy of the actor playing him is like, this guy does community theater, or like this guy, like, you know, he's a DM or something.
He's giving it his all.
He's giving it his all. He's making choices. They are all questionable. The character itself is it's terrifying, and like where it all goes with like him is that JoJo fans will get this. he feels like what happens when Araki decides midway through a part of JoJo that one of the side characters is his favorite and starts giving them all the bits. He is the Jean-Pierre Polnareff of this movie.
I also have an anime comparison because I felt that these trio were like the Denji Archean power of like a alternate gas leak universe. With Matt being Denji of like the sad past and the like just wants companionship and all that other stuff. Drew being the like really serious one who was like, oh, you guys need to act right. And then Steve is Power if Power looked like her personality. Much like Power from Chainsaw Man, Steve speaks in like a bizarre take on like Old English. Or, like, Middle English. Don't fucking get angry about me about that in the comments. I don't care.
I don't think that Imari Stevenson cares either in, what this guy is doing.
He's always said, like, speak thine truth. 'Tis a mighty, like, whatever. Like, I can't turn it on like this guy.
Is it about the logging? Is it going to take a large amount of gold?
Yeah, gold. All right, Braveheart.
They call him a medieval moron at one point, so it's clear that, like, not only is he speaking in, like, an old British accent, he's speaking in a old British accent.
But at some point, someone goes like, oh, you're, like, trying to speak like a guy from the past, and he's like, knave, I speak like an Englishman.
Yeah, it's like, why are you trying to speak like you're from the old country? You're from this country, is something someone says to him.
I feel really bad because he sounds just like this video.
Boo! Seriously? You in for a fight? Franchising lollies? Pedophilia? You really looking for a fight?
That's the kind of shit that, like, this character embodies down to the point that maybe canonically Steve murdered some children in the past. It's like like, I don't know how to describe it as like a running gag, a thing he has to overcome.
I don't know how funny we're meant to find this.
Yeah, because like the thing is, like, he brings it up once, he's like, oh, I can't work because, I was involved in that. I was framed for that murder of those children at my old job at the carnival. And, like, you're like, okay, all right. And then later on, he's, like, on the phone with his father, who, by the way, his father is, like, clearly Imari putting on another voice and, like, ADRing himself, like, in after the fact to talk with him.
Look, son, these happen. Not my fault, okay?
Yeah, whatever, Dad.
But he keeps going, like, because of the job you got me, I can't work anymore. Because I was framed for a murder that I didn't do. And then the rule of three, where this comes back the last time, is that at a certain point, these guys are being tortured by being put into, like, hellish virtual worlds where they have to relive their darkest memories.
Which we don't see, by the way. We just see them shirtless, tied up, experiencing it.
It's, never say that this isn't a fucking powerfully arousing film. Anyway. Anyway, his, like, we just hear, like, Steve's reactions to, like, the hell he's been put in. And he's just like, no, don't kill those kids. I didn't kill those kids. It's like, what is going on? What was this, like, what stage of production did they decide it's important for this character to have, like, that in his past?
There's a sick creation of my past. No, don't kill those kids. I didn't do it. Oh, this is literal hell.
It never comes up past that point. It never, like, evolves into a plot point. Like, we never find out who framed him, or if he was framed, or if he killed the kids. It's just this, like, really uncomfortable, like, laugh, but only because you're, like, unsure
because
why
it's poorly
there.
acted, you assume it's not for pathos, but that doesn't mean it isn't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that's the thing. The character of Steve is a fascinating addition to this movie.
God, Hollywood has been doing this for years, unchallenged, by the way. They're the reason why, like, there's corruption in the world.
There's a major subplot in this that, like, Hollywood and big business are going to replace real women with, like, computer women, like AI-generated women. And the thing is, there are so many scenes where they deliberate on this. I never actually understood what they meant. And as the movie went on, I only understood it less.
So we'll get into that a little bit. So as we mentioned earlier, this evil company is Cinetas Unoum, which is run functionally. They have a boss who only appears over the phone, but by a pair of brothers called Recifal and Judas Barabbas. Recifal, by the way, is Lucifer backwards.
Yeah.
And they're these two dudes who look a bit like Saints Row NPCs with their like red light. You know, in Saints Row the Third, the dudes, I think they're called the Morning Stars, who just have like black suits with like red trimmings, and that's their gang uniform.
They look like the Morning Stars, but they talk like the Ultor guy from Saints Row 2. Like, they're always just like, fuck you, I've got big business going on.
You watch who you're talking to. It's Judas Barabbas.
Oh, really, dickhead? Yeah, don't you need to go collect your 30 pieces of silver? You plan on screwing someone else over? Because we already know you screwed poor Jesus over.
Shut up. I am not a dickhead, okay? I'm a sensitive American male. Also, yeah, I wish I did have the 30 pieces of silver.
I'm a grown-ass adult and I make fucking money.
Big Dane Vogel energy.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a very welcoming video for all of these Saints Row deep lore fans.
Yeah, exactly. All three of you.
Sex sells, and it sells well. That, beer, weed, cocaine, sports, and Matt, Pat, Markiplier, Jack, and of course Oprah.
This introduces some of the other cast, who are a group of models who work with Cinetas Unoum, which, again, I don't really know what Cinetas Unoum does. Are they a modeling agency? Are they an advertising agency?
They're business, Henry. They're big business. They do all the evil business because they are the people with the money. Not like the people who have, massive amounts of inheritance and can't do anything
with it. From their
with
mysteriously dead family.
I didn't kill my family. No, don't kill my family. Don't do it.
I'm going to buy this car in their honor. But yeah, so Cinetas Unoum and the Barabbas brothers hire a bunch of models. The lead of them is Claudia, who is an undeniably stacked woman who, because of one of Imari's many fetishes, and I'm sorry, this is gonna be a tough video for that particular subset of viewers. Always comment on the SpongeBob boys, like, why do you guys see fetishes and everything? And it's like, because we have seen too much to be blissfully ignorant. That's why.
Like, I'm sorry that the world is not what you thought it was. There are just people out there who want things so badly that they put them into their art. And Imari Stevenson is one of those people.
Yeah, he has a major, one of his about 10 fetishes on display in this movie is muscle girls. So they act like Claudia is a bodybuilder.
They keep acting like, how could you be attracted to someone who has big muscles like me? And it's like, girl, you're normal.
Yeah.
You just look like a regular woman.
Which is not to say that she's not attractive. It feels fucking weird litigating this.
What are you, big business who's gonna replace real women with fucking, pixelated AI women? No tits, no ass, no nothing.
This movie goes into the nitty-gritty of these women's bodies. So it forces to drag us there.
That's the thing. You've got Erica or Valerie. The movie can't decide what her name is.
Her Chiron describes her as a BBW plus size model.
Yes, exactly. And again, she has a moment with Drew, which is maybe the most characterization Drew gets in the entire movie, where he says you're chubby, and she goes, how could you say something so accurate?
Chubby? How dare you be so accurate? Yeah, I am a quarter-pounder woman. With fries.
I'm a quarter-pounder woman with fries. And it's like, I'm so sorry you had to say that line for money. You deserve better roles than this.
Exactly. It's one of those things that it's like, Jesus Christ. It goes without saying. An actor should have to, enthusiastically consent to any, faux sexual situation you're putting them in, even if it's something that is esoterically sexual, fetish stuff. They should know what they're doing and they should consent to that. it's still one of those things where it's like, it's one thing when it's voice actors, which we'll get into when it's like the VR portion of this, but when it's an actual just human woman whose like face and body needs to be on screen, and she's got to call herself a quarter pounder woman with fries.
Valerie herself is written out of the movie in the most bizarre way. For a moment, again, there are these virtual women throughout the movie, because of course there are, as Henry alluded to. One of the virtual women who we'll get into, who the plot kind of revolves around, is this character Yuna, who is attempting to, like, just Monica the world or something.
Yeah, basically.
It's unclear.
Reality is full of pain, hardships, and all sort of depression. I mean, really? Who wants that?
One of the things about Yuna in the lore, in the text of the movie, is that apparently Erica/Valerie is controlling her as, like, the Avatar, even though, like, Yuna
is a sentient being.
Like, for one scene, Valerie acts as if she's in control of Yuna, and then we, like, never see her again.
Yeah, and in that scene, I'm just going to call her Valerica, which sounds like a fantasy name. Valerica does the Yuna voice, and it's like awkwardly dubbed in. Do you remember that?
My dear Steven.
The sound mixing makes her voice 1,000,000 times quieter than everyone else's speaking voice.
And it's out of sync with Valerica's lips. And then, as you said, Valerica literally, she leaves the room and she's gone. And then there's the third model who... She is the first one to disappear. She gets got by the narrative. And there's a bit earlier...
No, because she comes back for one scene for like, no reason. She has no purpose in this.
All I remember is she has one of the most iconic lines of the movie.
You have my word, not as a model, but as a human helping another.
The models find out Cinetas is going to replace them with virtual girls. And they're forced to go crawling back to the hackers to be like, hey, look, we'll pay you the rest of the money you need to go to this games conference if you go into the Cinetas servers with your special tech and defeat the programs for their AI girls.
So the thing about the AI girls that's really funny is that basically it seems like these company is selling like NFT women as like a substitute for like all women, which like would only make sense if you believe that women are like a rare and like scarce commodity.
To be fair, dude, that's one of those things that's oddly prophetic for a certain kind of person, because all that shit recently of like, this movie came out in like 2017, and all that shit recently of like, look at these AI women, it's over for real women now, I'm just gonna stay home and jack to this forever.
That's true, that there are some people like that, but this goes a step further. There is no cogent symbol in this, but like apparently companies will buy these like virtual women, and as a result, the virtual women will be spies for Cinetas who like report and like, gather data from them. It basically it's like, what if Mark Zuckerberg made like bonsai buddies that were like hot big titty anime women?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's what we're to assume is going on at this portion of the movie.
We covered Mad God on the Patreon. $1 a month, by the way, and you can get a lot of discussions like this about various movies. It's really worth it.
Yeah.
Honestly, we're likely going to compare this to a lot of the movies that we've talked about on the Patreon and already have to some extent. Phil Tippett had this quote about Mad God that, like, Mad God is the memories you have after watching it. That's a similar thing to that one amazing movie.
No, that one amazing movie is the memories you don't have after watching it. It's the brain cells that left you after watching it.
The parts of you that died during the experience.
Yeah, this movie just makes you feel like you've never seen reality before, especially as it moves on towards them going to get this deal, because again, these three model women, they show up, they do things throughout this, but where the movie really begins is when the virtual world stuff introduces that Yuna character that we've talked about, and vast swaths of the film become these, like, unwatchable visual nightmares of like 3D CG models beating the shit out of each other with weird JRPG powers.
Yeah, so we'll begin with the first VR thing, which is pre-Una, but is also kind of an odd outlier in that, thank fuck, none of the rest of them look like this, because it becomes this bizarre 3D side-scroller with text on screen that moves way too fast to be read, so you have to pause it and read each one.
No voiceover! No voiceover!
Which, by the way, is when we meet another pivotal character for the first time.
Oh, yes.
We're gonna call her Tifa Not Heart, because she looks a little bit like... Yeah, we'll call her Noobleborski, because...
Yeah.
She is meant to be a woman that you have a crush on. That's the best way I can describe it, if that makes sense.
She is the woman you see when you're like 15 and you accidentally discover masturbation and you like imagine what a woman looks like. That's her.
She is that 4chan thing that was like this picture of like an anime girl that's like utterly soulless drawing I did after fucking a prostitute.
Yeah, she is post-nut clarity the person.
She is honestly the type of woman that so many of these like very lonely dudes fantasize about, of like, oh, I just want like someone to like tell me I'm cool and to be like this like tough girl who will like get me in a headlock, but like I'll be into it and I'll be right next to her boobs, which make uncomfortable sloshing sounds when they jiggle, which is all the time.
The most uncomfortable sloshing sounds. I just want a woman who will say, "Let's jam and bam" before doing something badass.
Yeah, that's her catchphrase. And she also gives us, I believe, the first transformation scene of the film, aside from ones in the opening credits.
Yeah, so the opening credits, we didn't touch on this earlier, but the opening credits show every character that appears in the movie. To call them credits is implying that there are enough credits to cover the runtime of what we're shown. There is not. There really is not. There runs out of like words to display on the screen very quickly, but not characters. And
yeah, there are so many.
The other thing too about this like first virtual excursion where like the text is running by, and again, as an autistic person, I get the like, yeah, that's probably enough time for them to read that. Just like they'll pause every time to see that. That's what I would do. So of course, like they'll do that.
I mean, I did it, so I can't complain, I guess.
Yeah, the thing, the biggest like plot thing about this sequence is that it tells us that like Drew is a brawler who fights with his fists. Steve is he fights with guns, and I was gonna call him Imari because he's the self-insert, but Matt fights with swords, and they are all given by the like studio mascot for Imari's like production company. During the sequence he gives the gun, the sword, and then he doesn't give anything to Drew, and he says, "'Cause you're bad butt already."
Which is so funny because there is so much swearing and sex in the rest of this movie.
There's so much cussing. I don't understand the restraint here, especially because shortly thereafter, after they tear through a bunch of things...
Pride arrogance.
Yeah, they fight pride arrogance, a fucking breast expansion booby metal angel who shoots beams out of her tits, and it's all real. We did watch this movie. We watched this movie. It's real.
Yeah, this is not just like Gus and I took peyote.
We're not doing a bit.
No, this everything we say about this is real. Pride arrogance. Don't you know the funniest thing?
What?
Pride arrogance is voiced by a pitched up Imari.
Let me be straight. I'm pride arrogance. You can't beat me.
I'm fucking pride arrogance. You don't stand a chance against me.
She sounds a bit like Cartman. And Fred Arrogance, respect my authority.
Respect my authority! I hit you with my booby beam!
Tifa Nothart also imparts some valuable information that if you die in the game, you die for real, and you can't spend over 8 hours in the game.
No, the rule is you can't spend over 5 hours in the game.
No, they say 5 later, but she says 8 at the time in the text. They contradict it.
Regardless, they say 5 later, and Steve spends over 5 hours in the game, and he's fine. The rule doesn't matter.
None of it matters, but the thing what's really funny is, again, just to give you an idea of, like, how bizarre the dialogue in this movie is when she says that, someone responds with 8 hours at a time or 8 hours straight.
It's one of those things where, as we mentioned before, like the character of Matt has PTSD and autism, and that's why he can't work. And he calls it PTS disorder at one point.
Look, I'm autistic. I got PTS disorder, and lastly, I've been burned down too many times by women in the past.
Like, the people in this movie, like, do not talk the way that someone who has talked to a lot of people and, like, was able to pick up on their speech patterns before writing the dialogue would be able to ascertain.
Yeah, like, please rent or buy this movie on Amazon Prime Video and watch it, just so you know we're not bullshitting this. But anyway, so they battle Pride Arrogance, and she gets bigger, and her boobs get bigger, and it's literally like a balloon inflating sound.
We should clarify that, yeah, the sound is terrible. She's also a, like, metallic, reflective, like, creature. Her texture is just, like...
She looks a bit like the final boss, the Wheel of Fate from House of the Dead 3.
She looks like that, but also like those weird Ironheart things that, like, weirdos are thirsting over.
Oh, yeah.
Nowadays.
And she has the most horrendous laugh you have ever heard. And they play
and get ready
it
to hear that multiple times, because it's not just her who uses that laugh. It's like a stock voice clip that they use throughout it. I'm pretty sure it's like Yuna's laugh from one of the moments.
Yeah,
in
where
the
it's
later
like
part of the
massively peaking. Anyway, they form a Megazord.
Yeah, whose name is like Zion Akuma, which is like, again, it's the fusion of the East and the West.
Which is one of the things that is, like, discussed in the written by Imari trivia page of this. So the Megazord fights her, and there's a lot of, like, sword play and beams and attacks.
Well, the thing is, this fight that they have is identical to the one that they have with, like, Lustful Greed, who, like, is the second one, again, like, because the satanic Hollywood, big government, big business people are trying to somehow replace real women with cyborgs. This is all starting to sound a lot like that one Hellraiser comment.
No, it does. This sounds like Ave Maria's Hellraiser comment, the movie.
Yeah. Like, if you know, you know. If you don't know, this will give you a pretty good description of it. Like, lustful greed and prideful arrogance.
Which, prideful arrogance is another, like, Stellar Star situation. Of, like, that's the same thing.
That's the same thing, exactly. Stella Star from Star Crash, the weird Italian horny Star Wars movie that came out a year after. But again, like, there's really not much to say about these fight scenes, because it's just a bunch of beams being shot at these oddly textured women. Lustful Greed has, like, money textures all over her, and they just scream and, like, laugh, and, like, it is uncomfortably sexual.
Their Megazord fully, like, dismembers Lustful Greed. They, like, chop her to pieces with a katana.
Zion Akuma doesn't fuck around.
They constantly play fucking Eagle Core sound effects over this fucking Megazord. All the fucking time.
So the Megazord is in their repertoire, right? But, like, later on when they're fighting Yuna, they're doing it hand to hand because, like, I guess the whole thing is that Yuna, like, catches Steve off guard at one point when he's inside the virtual world.
Okay, let's talk about that scene because that introduces some more characters I fucking hate. Alright, so the other guys leave, and Steve is like, oh, someone has left this thing here, which we later find out is Valerica, I believe. He plugs it in, and he goes into this virtual world. This is after speaking to Tifa Knothart for a bit, who is counseling him on his stresses, which is when we meet this woman whose name sounds uncomfortably similar to Israel, but I'm just gonna call her Balloon Woman, because... Can I explain it, Gus? Thank God we're an hour in.
I don't wanna, but I will.
Yeah.
So, there's just this one, like, backup female character who... The model looks somewhat like the Tifa Lockhart, not her
Tifa
character
Lockshot.
person. I've had alcohol at this point. The whole thing is that she just kind of inflates herself in order to shoot sonic blasts, like she's a balloon that needs to let out her air. That's the best way I can describe it, and also like crucially not the worst way I could describe it, because if I went into more detail for the amount of focus that this kind of thing gets in this movie.
Whenever she inflates, we get at least, like, 3 or 4 different angles and push-ins on it, while, like, what Gus described correctly as, like, a child shaking a goldfish in a bag sounds.
Oh! Oh, yeah! Oh!
Yeah, just the sloshing noises, and then you get like lines of dialogue where she's like, "Ooh, yeah, I got a big belly, check it out." It's like it's so like what are we here
Stuff
for,
that
man?
would be cringeworthy for us to write as a joke for Direwolf.
Yeah, exactly. It's like what's going on,
And the
man?
thing
Why are we in this?
There's a scene later where another character, voiced by Imari, is like, check it out, fellas. Oh, she's got some boobage and she's got a massive belly. Nice.
The thing about this is the thing about the horniness of this movie is that like no character is immune to this treatment, because sure, like that woman, her whole thing is inflating and deflating and all that. Yuna also gets a big belly at 808. She becomes big Chungus.
Yuna. Okay, so, alright, before we get to that, yeah, we meet Balloon Woman. Steve's avatar goes to the resort world where another 2, like, women with, like, tails and weird anime hair show up and take him through, like, a kind of crappy obstacle hallway that people keep making Mario jokes about, despite it not looking at all like a Mario level.
Oh, you know, my favorite part of Mario was the emoji walls and the big pointy spike things and the weird, like, you know, cramped hallways.
Yeah, so after passing
That's
this,
very Mario.
The 2 women leave, and Steve goes into the room, and we first meet Yuna pondering her orb.
Her fucking smile emoji movie orb.
Which is a big orb of, like, a yellow smiley face with different expressions all over it. And Steve's avatar makes a bunch of, like... Again, like I said, Yuna is like a kind of pink booby anime girl who is, like, evil and has that kind of yandere, like, Monica from Doki Doki Literature Club type stuff. But Steve makes a bunch of, like, weird transphobic jokes about her.
That's right! He does do... That is so odd!
Like, there's just a lot of jokes about, like, him, like, saying he mistook her for a man, and she gets angry.
A cross-dresser. Like,
Yeah.
it's pretty bizarre. Also, just the fact that, like, Yuna's just doing all the, like... I guess, like, weird anime comedy, because she gets, like, a big Oni club at one point to maybe beat him down, and I don't...
Trina, Yuna's voice actor, understood the fucking assignment.
my dear Steven. I
What?
do believe you shall be mine forever, and stay in infinite Arcadia, and never set foot in that nasty so-called real world.
Like, that much can be said.
Exactly. Like, this has big, like, Junko Inishima energy.
Yeah, like, she's a very, like, over-the-top, like, fourth wall breaking, like, self-referential humor.
To the point that anything in this movie could be more self-referential and more fourth wall breaking.
Oh, it gets worse.
Than the movie
Like,
itself.
A fourth wall break in this movie is one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever seen that happens at the Game Expo. We'll get, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
A certain scene on a stairwell.
There's multiple that are really uncomfortable, to be fair.
So yeah, Yuna, like, fights him briefly, and then they have, like, fucking crazy sex, and the two boys come back home to see Steve in his headset sex talking to Yuna, which is every bit as uncomfortable as it sounds.
Whoa, you coming on to me? It's fine. It's fine. You know, it's just normally women, you know, real or virtual, if you don't mind me using that word, usually don't do that.
Yeah, not only that, but like they give us the numbers later, and they say that apparently across the 5 hours he was online with Yuna, he sexed her 300 times in every conceivable position, and it's like...
Which is another powerful Imari is not a man who has had sex. Which is fine, by the way. No one's value is dictated by the number of times they have sex, and anyone who is not into that should not be pressured to have sex.
You don't have to do anything with your life that you don't want to do, and you don't have to feel self-conscious about something you haven't done yet. I will say this, though. This movie is a spell, a ritual that will restore the virginity to a man who has had sex.
Magical hymen fixer.
Yeah, it put my manhymen back on.
Yeah. No, this is one of those... Okay, I used to make this comparison in Monster Girls back in the day. I call it, like, bag of sand horny. It's the scene in The 40-Year-Old Virgin when Steve Carell's character is pretending to know what boobs are like. He's like, oh, yeah, no, it felt like a big bag of sand in my hand. And it's the kind of thing that you get with people who are, like, really horny, but don't really understand the, like, mechanics of the interaction, and it betrays someone who perhaps watches a lot of porn and jerks it a lot.
Dude, I was with this babe, and she ahagowed so hard when I made her come 47 times in 1 second.
God, it's that post that's like, I envy people who aren't us. That my girlfriend, after me giving her 9th orgasm of the night. Like, come on, dude. So yeah, they go in, and this is a bit that I think Steve has maybe been brainwashed by Yuna, because his avatar has Yuna's hair, and his two friends need to, like, fight him to bring him back, at which point they all, like, kick the shit out of Yuna together, and it's uncomfortable.
No, well, that's the thing. So much of this movie is, and then, like, CGI men beat up on a CGI woman as she screams and, like, uncomfortably, like, it's so weird, too, because, like...
Imari's voice in various pitches just quipping as they beat the shit out of a woman.
Yeah, exactly. It's that, like, you know, Xavier Renegade Angel of, like, taste the pain, while, like, this, like, you know, anime girl is like, oh God, I'm dying! Oh, no, please! No more!
True! And I think another thing, so far, fetishes we've got are, like, inflation, muscle girl, but I think, honestly, another one is, Imari really likes, especially when the big muscular girls are, like, repeatedly punched in the stomach.
But he also likes when they punch the other guys in the stomach. He just likes stomach punching.
Yeah, which I know is a thing, because I've seen the category before on my trips to certain websites. Like, it's one of those things that is just so weird, because, yeah, like, these women, they scream. They really scream, and they peak. It's like, wow. Oh,
yeah,
God.
the sound design in this movie could best be described as every sound effect is a jump scare.
Yeah, and I think linking it back, if I'm not mistaken, is it when they wake up from this that they've been tied up by Valerica? And she feeds Steve a banana? And both her and Steve are clearly laughing while she's doing it.
Because gay panic, maybe? I don't know. I don't understand.
Yeah, because there is, frankly, just, again, a lot of, transphobic jokes at the expense of these women.
It's not just, transphobia. It's also just, racism. Because it's, assuming that black women are more masculine.
Yeah, and it's
that sort of thing.
Obviously, Imari is black, but it's still one of those things that, it's undeniably uncomfortable, especially when it's coming out of, the mostly white characters he's putting these, words into their mouths. Something we observed earlier is that they constantly, these, mostly white dudes, aside from Matt, constantly, calling these women hoes.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You can be racist against black women as a black man if you're misogynistic enough. That's just the way it works.
There's a name for it. Misogynoir, I think it's called. Which I'm not going to go into detail on because I'm a very white, very man.
For me as well, it's just my skin tone could best be described as the lighting for the animated sections of this movie, as in saturated to hell and back with white light.
Which, funnily enough, is not as much the case for the next sequence, because I literally cannot for the life of me remember what cues up them going into the VR again. For the horror
because
sequence?
No, you know what it is? It's because they try to book a hotel, and they can't manage to book hotels. So then they go oh, well, why did all our hotels get blocked? Let's go in to the VR, to the internet to check out why. And then they end up in a survival horror schoolscape where a character who I don't know if we see or not see is named Yagul, the spirit of all conflict. Henry, there have been several times throughout recording this video that I've had to just question, what would this mean to anybody? Why are we covering that one amazing movie? We're just normal men.
We're just innocent men.
We're just innocent men.
But here's the thing. There is a reason that we have to be so oddly compelled by movies like this. Because, it's something where you could ask the question, 3 hours, none of it is good. Why didn't you just turn it off? There are shorter and probably more algorithm-friendly things we could have watched for content.
Undoubtedly. Undoubtedly.
And yet we chose a 3-hour movie that no one has heard of by some random fucking weirdo. I think it's because, as creators, we're putting on our two professional writer hats for a second. We have all been guilty. And I think continually have the urge inside us to continue to be guilty of going into maximum self-indulgence mode creatively.
Oh, I would 100% agree with that, because this movie is a testament to what happens if someone is just so unfettered in self-reference, indulging in the tropes and types of things that they lose sight of whether any of it can be related to any other human being's experience, or if it's even authentic to who they are as a person.
That's the thing. I think a lot of creators have this instinct, and I say a lot of creators, I'm not discluding myself and Gus here, have this instinct of, well, the ideal creative thing would be a creative work where I could basically shove everything I like into it. It's the equivalent of the kind of 2010s cliche of it's got ninjas and pirates and robots and zombies and pizza. Yeah,
it's just this idea of a work that can contain everything that is good, bad, interesting, fascinating about fiction. A kind of Alan Moore's League of Extraordinary Gentlemen type thing.
That's the thing. The fact that Alan Moore is Alan Moore is really the only reason that we don't basically think of the later volumes of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen in the same way that we look at that one amazing movie. The big difference is, the stuff that Imari Stevenson is obsessed with is fundamentally his own stuff. And the stuff Alan Moore is obsessed with is, like, the 60s British TV, the Avengers, and, like, old obscure comics nobody's ever heard of. Like, the reason Ready Player One got away with it is, it's basically the same stuff as these two, but it's about things that are so generically popular, it's easy to do the kind of, like, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like Leo pointing towards the screen.
Yeah, exactly. But, you always think of, like, that kind of overindulgence in reference, it makes you just kind of shudder and think, like, what, like, Wreck-It Ralph could have been if it had been like all the video games in one movie. There are times when it's like that, but I'd say as a whole, and I didn't know I'd be bringing up this movie in this, but I think it's relevant.
It is.
Wreck-It Ralph, I think, is an incredibly solid movie with like solid original ideas through the medium of like video games. And because it's able to be this specific story about, a video game bad guy who teams up with, like, an estranged racer in a racing video game, both of which are, pretty time-worn tropes, but both Sugar Rush and Wreck-It Ralph have a clear identity in and of themselves invented by the movie. You get a story that is genuine and interesting in all the ways that it would need to be without going too far off into there's Mario, there's Sonic, there's Zangief.
Yeah, that's the thing. It works because the parts of that movie that matter emotionally deal in broad, identifiable character archetypes rather than specific characters. And it's why the second one is, like, not a good movie that people enjoy, because so much of it is, like, specific references to, like, dated memes or internet phenomenons, or, like, having specific Disney princesses turn up. And even if you know those things, it's just this sense of, like, okay, like, I think a good example for, like, Die Gentleman fans, and realistically, if you're this far in, you're a Die Gentleman fan, is, like, imagine how a video that I can't remember if it was for free or not, but it's on the Patreon, the Die Gentleman tournament arc would mean fucking nothing to someone who hasn't been a fan of this channel for at least, like, a year and a half.
Exactly.
But the difference is, again, we were making that for that audience that we know exists. We know it's you listening to this right now, the frequent commenters, the frequent viewers, the people who like the in-jokes, the lore characters. And the thing is, because ultimately that amounted to, like an hour-long YouTube video that is on the Patreon that, like, people can just enjoy for, like, I believe no money. Like, there are so many moments where, while watching it, I literally said out loud to Meg, I was like, wow, you can just feel that, like, this moment means so much to Imari, but he hasn't been able to make this moment mean that to me.
Yeah, because again, this movie is a soup of overblown, overindulgent, like, weird scenes with poorly textured women, switching back to live-action segments where misanthropic incels whinge about society vaguely, while models tell them that they're actually really cool, but then they go, I'm a Sigma male, bitch, get away from me. And then big business says, we're gonna fuck over those women. And then the women come crawling back because barbarians are at the gate, and these cool-ass hacker Sigma male gamer guys save the fucking world because they've studied the blade. And it's like, it all just like devolves into utter self-referential madness with no relation to anything. And that is especially true once we get into the last hour of this film, which unironically, I have to say, the last hour of the film is probably the most enjoyable part of it.
Yeah, so our kind of, what you might tentatively call, if you were to apply any structure into this, our kind of break into three is the survival horror school, which then links into the conference. And in that, it's literally the guys walking through the school where we meet, like, Yadagal, the, like, spirit of all conflict. Yuna shows up and assumes her muscle girl form. like becoming like 8 feet tall and stacked. It's all very Steve Marmel.
Yeah, jiggle lady who does the jiggles.
Yeah,
goes
Balloon Lady and her
is-
like boyfriend, who is the guy who like talks her up. Like when she becomes like, that's the thing. I think something that I know Gus wisely didn't go into detail earlier, but I feel like I kind of have to now. She doesn't like become a sphere like a balloon. She just gets like fat and thick. Like her ass and tits also grow as well as her gut. Like it's
Yeah, they do.
It's and literally as the four guys who are all played by Imari are like thirsting over this. I can't remember, is it like hell yeah or like hot damn comes up on the screen behind them?
It's heck yeah or hot damn, and I think that both title cards are used at different points throughout this, where it's just the like there's also this same format is used for like ownage at different points when people deliver powerful hits. Like,
Anyway, so they go through the school until they end up in a church where these like giant monsters appear in a turn that I'm sure will delight fans of this channel. Yuna drops in from the ceiling and she like vores both of the other monsters that we thought the heroes would have to fight by kind of sucking them in a whirlwind fashion. And what is the line that one of the guys had of like, oh, I'm not going inside a crazy bitch. Been there, done that.
When I was born.
Yeah, like some insane shit like that.
They say that basically they were just, the joke is that the last time they even touched a vagina was
When
the
they
moment
fell
that they
out
were
of
born. They think that they're going to get absorbed by Yuna like up her vagina, so they're like, I'm not gonna get reverse born here.
This movie is a Freudian nightmare. Like a psychoanalyst would have a field day.
Like if you were to show this movie to someone and have them construct a definition of woman from this, it would probably be like something akin to that like weird like sensory homunculus creature. In those like books, like it'd be like, yes, a woman is like a monstrosity that exists to consume and destroy men. They are the apex predator. They have big bellies, giant fat fucking titties, huge dump truck asses, and they kill us and eat us all. And we like it? Question mark?
I'm just thinking of the bit from The Simpsons when Homer is describing the Statue of Liberty. That one guy's like, this giant woman will devour us all, and he leaps off the boat.
Yeah.
So speaking of, they run outside of the school.
No tits, no ass, no nothing.
And giant, like big belly Godzilla Yuna shoots out of the school. And
she's doing her best.
With just innocent men. And fucking
just innocent.
And she, like, the weird thing is, she doesn't fight them in this form. She summons her own Megazord to fight their Megazord on her behalf.
Yes, Dragon Knight. And she does a weird jerk-off motion while she's telling them that, like, I've got a Megazord with 2 arms, 2 legs, and cool shit. And they're, like, oddly mad about it. They're like, you don't tell us how we make our mecha, bitch. We'll make our mecha however we want. Again, it's another thing that just doesn't quite connect. Like, there are sparks, like, between 2 frayed wires, and in the middle there's supposed to be meaning, but there just isn't.
I love that we have to treat this like it's a film. like to make this discussion work, we have to discuss this as we would any movie. And that's fucking mad.
The
Zords.
It ends right when like the one Zord like kind of overpowers their Zord, and they're all like, "Damn, we got Zord beat. But anyway, let's go to our fucking business meeting.
Yeah, no, they get beaten with a Zord. There's yet another weird bit where, like, Fat Godzilla Yuna is knocked over by, like, a beam, and the camera pans all around her body, taking time to luxuriate over all the parts Gus described in our Imari Williams woman's sexual homunculus beast earlier.
Yeah.
So, and after all this, which, as Gus pointed out earlier, was an effort to, like ultimately the development of this is just finding that, like, Yuna bought out all of the hotel rooms to sabotage them.
Yeah, she's become the Unabomber.
And then after all of this, Claudia's like, well, you can just stay at my place.
Yeah, and then they go to Claudia's
Oh, the
place,
romantic
and-
subplot!
Right, Claudia is she's the only model who, like, because I think the model that was flirting with Steve shows up one more time randomly and does nothing, but Claudia and Matt get this whole scene where he's like, listen, I'm a piece of shit, I can't work, and I have taken the black pill. It's all over for me. And she goes, "Oh no, but you've got so much to live for. You have so much interest in a big burly, such a strong big burly woman like me." And it's like, it's so
Oh, and also it gets into that weird regressive stuff again. He's like, look, I'm like black and autistic. A woman like you would never be. This weird thing. It's like, maybe in my father's generation and maybe in a future generation, but not in this generation. And then she goes like, Claudia's like, oh, women don't act like women anymore. Like, we need a man. Like, it's so, like, regressive and heteronormative.
It's not even like, I don't even know. It's so incoherent. Like, it's just kind of like gesture widely at imagined degeneracy. Like, whatever intersection of beliefs place Imari Stevenson as the victim of society, that's what, like, you know, presupposes all of what he thinks men and women should be. Like, there's no rhyme or reason, but because it comes from this, like, belief that, like, his, you know, sort of emotional victimhood should replace, like, you know, the state of society, it has to inherently come across as fascist, because that's the only way to describe this, like, weird, like, things would be better if I ran society and if everyone thought like me, because, like, the internet and Hollywood are doing evil in vague, unspecified ways. Trust me, the person who made this movie, and every character speaks lines that I wrote for them.
And many of which, all of the male ones in the virtual world, are just me.
Exactly. And then the big businessman who, like, you know, they go to the job with, and I guess Claudia has been working for this whole time, because
that was a really confusing element for me.
Oh, that was confusing to you? That was more confusing than anything else that goes on. The thing about this is that by the logic of this movie, Claudia is an attractive woman, therefore she is with the deep state.
Legitimately, Gus isn't even exaggerating.
I'm not.
There are multiple points in this movie where the characters say, like, I don't trust attractive people.
Yeah, no, because the attractive people are a fucking cabal with every dog whistly thing that comes with that phrase and implementation.
I don't want to say anything slanderous, but, like, I would not want to ask this movie what it thinks of Jewish people, you know? We'll leave it at that.
Yeah. The subtext in here is a million bajillion fucking manifestos from a bunch of really bad people who did some really shitty, violent things.
Kanye West came in and did a few passes on the script before it went to record. Which,
yeah, I love that one amazing movie.
Which I kid,
it's
of
so
course.
Good.
Say I kid. I don't think anyone did a pass on this script before there was a record.
Absolutely fucking not. So the thing is, Claudia is working for a big businessman who is buying out the boys and their hypermental boy
Hypermental homeboy.
That guy is named Imari.
Yeah, like Douglas Imari.
and he is played by Imari Stevenson himself.
So, all right, let's talk a bit about the conference. So early on, again, they're all like, "Oh, this is gonna go badly," and we're all agreed if it goes badly, we're killing ourselves, right? I cannot stress enough how big an element of this that is.
Again, it's a thing where it's like you cannot watch this movie and like expect these characters to not just in every single scene talk about how they're gonna fucking delete themselves out of reality.
Yeah, just glibly talking about this incredibly like grim subject matter. And there's this bit where like Claudia is speaking to Matt on the staircase, is giving him like a pep talk. She says something like, "Oh, you know, like you gotta be ambitious. You gotta go as big as possible," which then cuts to Balloon Woman's belly inflating again from like 3 different angles, cut back to the stairwell. Matt and Claudia in this ominous dark stairwell both turn towards the camera, and Matt in a completely monotone voice says, "Talk about good timing."
Talk about good timing.
Oh, it's that like Helva Boss episode 3 joke, but on like it's so much more uncomfortable and specific.
That was a good joke. When that happened, but this same joke in that One Amazing Movie sent a fucking chill down my spine.
And you know what the difference is? It would be like if that scene where Blitz said that and they all looked at the camera was preceded by like 5 minutes of just raw fucking Luna getting her back blown out by somebody.
It just like it gives us a quick flash of a bunch of the creepiest Luna porn you've ever seen. Well, that's the Imari move. The like genuinely zero restraint.
Exactly. And boy does that. I keep wanting to talk about the last hour of this movie because it's the best.
We're getting there.
It's the best part. I cannot believe that you keep pretending that this movie has a plot that we need to synopsize in a coherent fashion.
No, here's the thing. It's I don't want to make this movie sound more coherent than it is. People need to know. This actually leads into the last hour because they're finally in the business meeting with Imari. Claudia is like literally standing at his side. He's sitting there, and it's so funny because this is Imari's idea of a businessman. Because he's sitting there, like, doing, like, the evil, like, hands.
He's doing Gendo! He's Gendoing!
Yeah, he's literally doing the Gendo Ikari, even down to having, like, sunglasses indoors.
Yeah, exactly.
And he says something like, again, just, it's the same way, like, so it's kind of impressive that we haven't really made this comparison much before now, but it's in much the same way that, like, Doug Walker, who is a not totally dissimilar figure to Imari, seems to just have, like, a very basic and poor understanding of, like, business people as just this vague idea of, like, people in suits who like to stomp on creatives. Imari is, like, and his line delivery is so awkward, he's like, when we invest in a company, what we are really doing is buying you out and taking it away from you, and perhaps even putting newer, better teams onto the project. That is the nature of business.
And you can just imagine that Imari Stevenson, who clearly has enough money to make this movie, who has these, like, you know, sick-ass cars and these big old dumb swords, you can just imagine that he's heard something like this speech at some point in his life where somebody said, yeah, you're not really a good fit for management. How about we have someone else run the company that your parents gave you a job at? And you can just imagine, like, oh, I'll show you. I'll write a version of what you just said to me that validates all my biases towards people like you who think that just because I'm incompetent at this job that nepotism got me, that you can talk down to me. A true artist and genius.
No, it's so true. It's so fucking true. And like he's basically saying, yeah, I'm gonna give you guys a deal for $300,000 for this technology, which, as Meg pointed out yesterday, like, considering the rampant speculation in the tech industry, probably not as much now because we're finally seeing a bit of a crash, but, like, definitely in 2017, like, technology the caliber of which these guys have would, like, you would be talking buy-off deals of, like, 300 million, not 300,000.
Yeah, but he's the bad guy, so, like, you know, of course he's
It's that
offering them, like,
idiocracy
a
logic,
smaller
though,
deal.
of, like, evil business people are so evil that they will act against their own self-interest. They're like, no, we're not gonna have this, like, game-changing, industry-defining technology that will make any amount we pay you for it look like a drop in the bucket unless you take our, like, comically lowballed offer for it.
Yeah, no, and it's so bizarre, too, because, like, you know, these guys seem to be, like, so hurting for cash that even that amount of money...
$100,000 would change my life.
Yeah, like, they have this, like, huge inheritance that they can, like, you know, rely on. Like, if they got this money, like, what would their real issue be other than, like, but we're true game designers, we're making the virtual reality world, we gotta have... Like, it's very, it's incredibly first world problemsy. Like, I want to be rich, but I also want to be rich specifically for video game design.
Yeah, it's that kind of, Lindsay Ellis talked about this in her, like, review of Rent and Reality Bites. This idea of, like, you know, yeah, I've got, like, a good job in the industry already where I can learn the ropes and work towards the thing, but I need to be a famous documentary filmmaker right now.
Yeah, it's like, it's such a, like, weird, bizarre, self-indulgent fantasy because, again, like, these guys have their, like, you know, misanthropic, like, society's falling apart, like everything, like, you know, attractive people can't pay attention to us, we're lost. Behind all of that, there is this belief that, like, they're superior and better than everybody, and, like, it's just, like, at what point do they just accept that, like, okay, they just want to have money and be happy?
Yeah, exactly. Then, I can't actually remember what the, like, inciting moment for this is.
There is no inciting moment. Yuna just shows up on
on his
MRI's
computer
laptop.
and is like, I'm Yuna, and I'm gonna take over the world, maybe, or something.
I'm about to just Monica the world. I think at one point, and they might be referring to Sinitas Yanomino, in this, but they say that, like, they want indirect control of the world. And it's very funny.
That's such a Dr. Evil thing of, like, by the time this plan is done, we will have indirect control of the world.
Yeah, no, I love it because it's just kind of like, oh, you couldn't commit to world domination. It had to be like, they're doing, like, listen, they're gonna have all the soft power.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what that means? They won't be able to, like, roll out tanks or throw us in jail, but they'll be able to, like, they'll take the boobies out of our media. Like, that's the worst case scenario.
To be fair, it is one of those things where it's actually funny that I mentioned Dr. Evil because these are people who, like, ascribe to the, like, number 2 school of, like, evil power. Of the,
evil
like,
has changed,
like,
yeah.
You, like an idiot, want to take over the world, but you don't understand there is no world anymore. It's only corporation. God, it's so funny to think about a line that's, like, that good and that raw in the context of this movie, which I genuinely don't think has a single unironically good line in it.
No, it really doesn't, because we're trapped in, like, the morass of it's climax time. Let's jam and bam.
Like, it's so...
I'm a quarter pounder woman. I didn't kill those kids. kids.
Fucking Imari is like, oh no, Yuna and Cinetaz are gonna take over the world. So let me tell you the true origin of Yuna. I made her as a tribute to my wife called Yuki, who is dead.
My dead wife!
But she gained self-awareness, and that technology of yours that I was just lowballing and calling useless, it's actually the only way you can defeat her. If you guys go in there and risk life and limb again to defeat Yuna and the Cinetaz Brabus boys, well, maybe think about a deal. And now, at long last, Gus, we enter the final hour.
And it's like, fuck you if you cared about anything that came before. This is the time for the Endgame showcase. This is where it all comes to a head. Like, all the 3D models of all the different characters that we've seen from all the different Imari Stevenson's products, they start running in, they start doing like a weird like Naruto run where they're bent over with scoliosis, sticking their asses out, they run at each other, they transform into different things, ones that we haven't even seen like for extended period of time come out, and they start casting JRPG spells that create these weird like, you know, spikes of textures, they shoot fireballs at each other, they fucking destroy, just straight up murder anybody who has any kind of epilepsy or light sensitivity. If you've had a head injury recently, you watch this, you will die. You will die on the spot. It will fucking kill you. There is, big, giant, like, Zardoz fucking Star Fox 64 Andross motherfucker.
I believe that is the avatar of Resifal. The giant kind of lawnmower man.
It's so fucking lawnmower man. Yeah, and again, it's Imari is doing all of the male voices in this, so you just have him being like, son, bitch, please, I got no weaknesses, you gotta come into my world and try and kick my ass,
Which is so funny, because real life Resifal is the lamest, skinny, long-haired white dude who just mumbles his way through all of his lines. So then to get Imari, who is playing this guy like a kind
doing,
of evil cyborg. Voices. Yeah, he's like an evil shonen cyborg Kevin Hart. Is the only way I can describe Resifal's avatar.
Oh no, you do not come into my world and you kick my ass. I'll beat you at your own game.
The biggest thing that Resifal did in the rest of the movie was a scene where Claudia says something to him, and he says something like, I saw what you did there. You think I didn't see what you did there, but I did anyway.
Resifal is bizarre in so many ways.
So they fight him in their Star Fox vehicles that combine into the big mecha. They sort of individually battle him with that.
And in this last scene, every single woman muscles up.
Oh, they all muscle up. Resifal also turns into, he has a woman avatar and a man avatar, and they end up fighting all these different people, including the Mario brothers that we alluded to, who are these two little kids who are all yo, are we gonna take you to school, bitch?
This one guy who I can only describe as, what if Super Saiyan Goku was also a lemon?
He looks awful. I believe that's supposed to be Imari's avatar, I think.
I don't know, because he was one of those guys from one of the previous things. This awful, lemon Sonic Saiyan nightmare man with no nose.
The point is, I don't know who anyone is. This is it's like you have just kind of been shown the last hours of Avengers Endgame, and the only movie you've ever watched before is The Boss Baby. That's what this feels like. You're just kind of sitting
all
there,
of the portals are opening.
What's going on?
And all of the Imari lore characters are coming in. And each one of them gets, a little moment to shine in the, battling Resifal moment. The crazy thing is, I think it was purely the fact that everything up to this point that we've just described had fucking melted my brain. I was fully strapped in at this point. I was here for it.
Yeah, see, that's the thing about this scene is that, like, it goes on for so long and it features so many characters and the choreography is so, like, intentional and, like, competent for the level of animation that is taking place that it kind of, like, you kind of forget that the rest of the movie happened before this and get invested in this. Because they go directly from that to a battle with Yuna, who is, like, sitting on a throne.
Sorry, in like a floating Final Fantasy style cathedral.
And she is a full-on, like, JRPG boss villain. She is, like, doing the Persona 5, like, I'm going to Yaldabaoth, control the entire world through some means.
Her attacks in this scene are wild, because the guys try to fight her, and she makes these two, like, eyeless angel monsters appear, which cause two of the guys, I think only Steve is left, like, two of the guys get, like, suddenly, like, telekinetically crucified on crucifixes made of light. And I think another one gets, like, burned to near death.
Yeah, because they all have to fight her one by one. Like, Drew does this, like, hand-to-hand battle with her, and she manages to, like, because Yuna can learn, because she's an AI who learns, she uses all the physical abilities, which, you know, amounts to women inflating, but she uses all those abilities to defeat and burn to a crisp Drew, and then Matt comes down, and he's using the swords, but she uses all the sword abilities from all the Imari characters to stop him, and then there's the scene where Steve, like, machine guns her, and she summons all the gun abilities.
She summons a giant minigun.
And they just shoot each other for a while she screams uncomfortably often, like as bullets just are rained down onto her body. But it doesn't even work. Like, Steve gets taken out by her, and then they all get second forms.
Like, again, I hate that I'm saying this.
Unbroken!
But I was hyped at this.
Dude, that's the thing. It's unbroken. We do not go back to the real world, except for, like, a couple shots of Amari's face playing Imari, where he's, like, wearing the headset. He's like, you guys gotta pull out of the thing. So, like, you were just in this reality where they continue to fight Yuna until they go into this, like, other world.
Like a destroyed nightmare city?
Yeah, and there's, like, corrupted versions of their avatars, which never explained. I don't know what that is, but it's the same city where they fought the two giant odd textured booby women from earlier in the movie.
Women.
Yeah, the sin women. I think every woman is a sin woman by this movie's standards. There is she takes this, like, half devil, half angel form and calls out to her true master, which is this gigantic half Statue of Liberty, half crucifix, half bunches of heads called Human Nature.
I am the human nature. In me is the reflection of every man, woman, and child. When anyone gazes upon me, they see themselves as they truly are.
This is a real movie, by the way.
This is the part where, like, I lost it. Like, because I saw this in the Sorting Algorithms video, and I was, like, anticipating this moment with fear and apprehension and, like sadistic glee, because I just had to see this moment where the pink-haired anime girl who's going to just Monica the world appeals to her greater god, which addresses the audience as, I am human nature. Every man, woman, and child see within me their true self of all time and whatnot. Wrath of humanity beam.
Wrath of humanity.
I'm not even making it up, man.
No, I know, I was there. Like, again, like,
it just keeps happening. This movie just keeps happening to you.
It's an almost religious experience at times.
Almost, I would say, like, it is just fundamentally a religious experience.
And then at this point, all of the Zords fuse.
Yeah, they become, what is it? They become Emperor Zion. They become King Bubs Gonzola Supreme.
King Bubs Gonzola, King Bubs Gonzola Supreme.
Like, with everything together, and it's getting into like, oh, the like a backplate of righteousness.
The wings of freedom.
He then pulls out like a fucking Kylo Ren style crucifix lightsaber.
And this is what they use to defeat Yuna's biggest, belliest, fucking sloshiest form yet.
and of course, human nature itself. And by the end of this battle,
what, did you just remember what we were talking about?
Yeah. It hits you in waves. So, this is
you know what I'm thinking about too is that like how uncomfortable it is when they get their big mecha form and like Yuna just kind of looks at it and goes, oh no, and like she's just so upset, like she doesn't even attack them, she just like goes into fetal position, she's like, I don't want to die, please don't kill me.
Yeah, no, genuinely. And they're like, nah, bitch, we're gonna fucking execute you.
We're gonna fucking murk you, you're not gonna hurt nobody no more.
And then Imari comes in as a being of pure light.
And he goes, you gotta redeem Yuka Uni. You're Uni Yuka. Yuna Yuki. Oh, God.
You're Makima Morbius.
I'm Makima Morbius. A joke that nobody's gonna get.
Have sex.
Poop my pants. Poop my
like, I'm just imagining it was in Imari's head while writing this, just the vula, vula, vula. Anyway, so what happens then, Gus? What does Imari of pure light say to the boy?
He says, Yuna Yuki is redeemed. She's learned her lesson. She's not gonna hurt anybody no more. So, like, leave us to our reason or destroy us both.
Let there be peace in your heart. Only I and I alone should decide what happens to Yuna. Yuna Yuki, I have no intention to lay a hand on you no more. Come, let us reason together. If not, destroy us both. As you wish.
Which, as we said off mic, if it had gone wrong and they had destroyed Yuna Yuki and Imari's avatar, by the laws of this movie, they would then have taken their masks off in the conference room and he would just be dead on the table across from them.
Yeah, which would make them probably guilty of real-world murder, and like definitely that would cost them their business deal.
Also,
those guys would definitely be taking their own lives after that.
How could you prove it?
Obviously, Amari's the character he plays isn't going to die in this, so he and Yuna ascend, and he goes like, she goes like, oh, I remember I was your fucking wife or something, and they shoot a big old beam at humanity.
There's a lot of beams in this movie.
A lot of fucking beams. They shoot a beam at him, and human nature blows up, and they give some speech about like, well, humans can deny their nature, but their nature can also deny humans. And at the end of the day, free will is good. I'm paraphrasing, but I'm not.
No, genuinely, like, and by the way, at this point, there's still like 25 minutes left in the film. So
yeah, no, that's the thing. They blow up fucking human nature and redeem the AI that would have destroyed the entire universe, and yet, the central conflict of the movie is not resolved, which was apparently whether or not these fucking, like, fail-son incel misanthropes get their fucking small business deal from Imari whatevers.
Yeah, they take the mask off. He thanks them. and then they're not happy with the deal.
Yeah, he goes like, okay, yeah, this is the quote I'm gonna give you. And they go like, fuck you. And they storm out of the room and they're like, I can't do this. I can't do it. And they're all acting like the worst thing that's happened to them this day is that they got kind of a raw deal on like a business exchange, as if they didn't fucking go into the like subconscious realm of humanity and duel for the future of the entire species.
You fought human nature.
And won!
You killed Reservoir Barabbas. Again, by the laws of this movie, the physical dude, Reservoir Barabbas, is dead now.
That's right.
They killed his avatar.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Barabbas brothers are like corpses in VR headsets now.
And the vaguely defined, never seen military man who employed them, or government man, or whoever it was, is just kind of like, hello, boys, you still around, guys? Because again, you know, Hollywood and big government and all this stuff, we're trying to do something with the women, and it was pretty bad. They were putting fluoride in our women and turning the freaking frogs gay.
You know what's kind of hilarious in hindsight?
What?
I've been completely wrong. There's a whole video in so much of what I've said, because it just occurred to me, what businessman or business entity or venture capital fund or whatever would invest in a video game technology that actually kills you if you die?
I ask anyone from any anime, which is probably where Imari Stevenson got the idea.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, big trigger warnings for this next bit.
This is like, okay, so here's the thing. After the fucking like the eternal orgasm of most of the last hour of this movie, the fucking painful like, whoa, this is hype, wait, ow, oh, I've got the gush, oh, ow, ah! Like the painful, terrifying roller coaster we get into reality, and the joyless, terrifying experience of all three of our main characters contemplating getting the game over screen IRL.
Which, you know, they kind of phrase it that way in thing. Like, literally, Steve says something like, oh, you know, we all get the game over screen sooner or later. I want to pull the plug on my own terms.
And like, you know, the women are just kind of adjacent to this. By women, I mean,
Tifa Nothar again, with her massive jubblies sitting on her laptop.
Yeah, Claudia ? Is somewhere involved in this, or not, I don't know. But, like, Steve is talking to her, which, again, he feels more main character coded than anyone else for some reason. And like, he's like, yeah, the big game over screen in the sky, I'm gonna go there. And the other guy is, Drew, his is the most uncomfortable. It involves a knife, and I'm not gonna go into it. And nothing happens, of course, no blood.
Thankfully.
And then, Matthew, his method is the most bizarre because
auto-composting.
Yeah, he's under some leaves in the woods, assuming that he's going to will himself into rot.
But then, Imari, who is nice Imari now because he's now wearing a loud shirt, which has completely changed his characterization.
So he calls Matthew on a phone that Matthew does not have and isn't with him.
Yeah.
And then he explains that there is a reason to live, a reason to go on, and that their technology is great because God rewards the righteous in eternal happiness because God is omnipotent. He is omniscient. He sees all, he knows all. Like, at the end of the day, you just gotta hand it to the big man because he's got a plan for all of you. So don't give up on your video game dreams because Jesus, fucking God Jesus.
There is something you're forgetting. He has that thing in that line he's listing off. He goes, God is omnipotent. He is omnipresent. He is omniscient. and most importantly, he is omnipotent.
Omnipotent. You're right. That is amazing.
Like, this whole thing, after being a, like, horny, violent mess.
And a screed against, like, every aspect of, like, traditional society, including organized religion, suddenly becomes a fucking chick tract at the end.
Yeah, it's like Imari had nutted and started to feel guilty.
And he had to do a bunch of Hail Marys.
Yeah.
And so, like, the thing, too, about this is that, like, in what world is, like, Orthodox Christianity and a belief in God going to coexist with, like, you know, making highly sexualized and violent video games? Those traditionally have not coexisted because, like, one is considered satanic. Even in this movie, AI and technologies and stuff is framed as Sorry, I just realized the plot of this movie is these three bozos fighting like infinite Loabs for the fate of humanity.
That one amazing Loab.
That one amazing Loab. Oh, fuck. God damn it.
No,
shit, dude.
So, and then, after they all have their come to Jesus moment, and they all decide not to commit suicide, and Steve's motivation for not committing suicide is the funniest thing. Because he's like, no, this is what my dad would want me to do. It would prove him right.
Which is like terrible.
Yeah.
It's just terrible.
It's really bad.
And I believe that's the last line he even gets in the movie.
No, it isn't. It isn't. Because...
Oh, right, because there's the happy end.
Yeah, the happy ending where they're like, oh, what happens to our technology? Matt is like, Imari found us like a buyer for it. And they're like, who's the buyer? And then a, like, flag
China!
of the People's Republic of China appears on screen with, like, a hi-ya
China!
sound.
Yeah.
Then it cuts back to the living room, and Steve is like, oh, China? They're probably going to try and pay us in opium.
Again, this is a classic, like, West versus East type of movie. Like, it's very like, the West has gotten too degenerate. Let's sell out to the East. They'll do what we want them to. They'll give us full creative control. And that's like the kind of conclusion to the thing where, like, they're going to sell their thing to the East, but also they have a new manager. And guess what? It's the one woman who still exists.
Oh, and by the way, the reason we know this is towards the end of... So, this whole movie has had insane sound effects. It's something that just describing it would not do it justice. But in this final part of the movie, the sound effects just become Imari doing a voice, like, yelling things. And he's meant to, like, represent the audience. It's like, we've got a new manager. And Imari from the audience is like, oh, it's obviously Claudia. And Matt is like, hey, you in the audience, don't give that away.
I'm like, oh my god, this is so predictable. It's Claudia.
Don't talk to the viewer. You know the whole fourth wall thing.
And then Claudia comes in with these, like, comically large sunglasses. And is
For
like,
no
oh,
reason.
you spoiled my big entrance.
I'm gonna find you and I'm gonna crush you. She looks directly into the camera and into Imari Stevenson's boner as he edited the movie.
Yeah. And then the last scene of the movie after this happy ending of like, oh, Claudia works with them now, and they all are puppets of Xi Jinping, and everything's gonna be okay forever.
Yeah, they go off to make their, like, bootleg Disney movies.
And the last couple scenes are, of course, about the most important character in this, Imari, returns to Yuna in, like, the sad, lonely, like, AI little house she lives in now, and she laments ever being created. And Imari turns up and is like, oh, sorry again for, like, using you as a surrogate for my dead wife, who, a picture of her appears on screen, and I'm like, God, who is this woman? Not sure I even want to know. And he's like, yeah, sorry for using you as, like, a surrogate for my dead wife while I was grieving, and then just leaving you here, even though you're, like, a fully sentient being, to then, like, go mad. And she's like, oh no, it's fine. You should live your life now. And the final scene is, I think, him talking to Tifa Knothart on the phone in Matt's car.
Yeah, that's the thing. The virtual woman that he had been chasing for the whole movie apparently says nah, even though I missed you before, I kind of want to be on my own now because I'm not that lady. You should go find someone in the real world. And then he goes to a different virtual woman inside of Matt's car for no reason, which I just assume is his real life car, and he just forgot at this point in the movie.
He forgot that it was meant to be Matt's.
So he's sitting in there, and he's talking to Tifa Knothart, and he's just she's like, oh, well, you should still, outside of the virtual world, you should still try to find someone and date somebody. And he goes, I'm fine with maybe she's out there, but I've got my virtual world, so really, I'm just fine. But maybe she's out there though.
This is I think I'm fine just wanking forever. Movie.
Yeah, this
is people who would watch, without spoiling the specifics, this is people who would watch Upgrade and get to the ending and think, everyone wins. Everyone gets what they want. This is a great ending.
This movie just has such powerful it has such powerful the ending is only happy if you're in the limbo space between nutting and post-nut clarity. You just exist in that space. The liminal space between nutting and post-nut clarity. The pre-nut, the post-nut, the eternal nut.
This movie is a 2-hour and 40-minute edging session, followed by a spectacular orgasm, and then going, oh god, I need Jesus.
Yeah. Boy, does it. This feels like sandpaper on your dick.
Yeah, this is, I've never seen anything like it, and, it's fucking fascinating.
No, I definitely can't say. I def not can say I have seen anything like that one amazing movie.
Yeah, and the thing is, looking back on it, having talked about it, having kind of exercised it from our brain, do you know what the most frustrating thing is, and what I think is a really big lesson that people can take away, and maybe we'll discuss this with sort of reference to our own works, but Imari's skill level aside, there's not a bad movie in here. Let me pitch it to you, because I did just realize the concept of developers Ready Player One sort of unlocked style, let's say they are people who are developers working for Imari from the start.
Yeah.
And they're building on his source code, helping to expand his digital world and to build these state-of-the-art immersive interfaces. And while they're trapped in there, they still, Yuna is the villain of it, because it occurred to me, there is a lot of great villain pathos to the idea of, I created a fully sentient artificial being to help me get over and grieve the loss of a loved one, but then when I'd finished my grieving process and left this thing to its own devices, it went mad with loneliness and became this dangerous program that is driven by this idea of I need as many people to love me as possible, even if it means taking away their free will to not do so. And these hapless dudes working for him are just caught in the crossfire of their kind of boss's mistake there. That, with all the extraneous stuff cut out, is the bones for a pretty interesting tight techno thriller.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. The problem with this movie is not the ideas themselves. The ideas can be interesting and original. They do contribute to this movie being rather fascinating. The thing is, there's just too many of them, and it's too long. And that amount of time spent in this space, it makes all the sort of technical problems, the lack of experience, all of that stuff stand out more. More than anything, the issue with this is that needs to be everything that Imari Stevenson has ever thought of even once without being anything specific to itself.
Yeah.
Even the title, That One Amazing Movie, implies that it has to be everything. It has to be that one amazing movie that contains everything amazing.
Yeah, and I think we've really learned as creators that, literally looking at this now and doing this kind of, post-nut clarity autopsy on it is the fact that had it been self-indulgent, had it been focused, had it been shorter, ultimately, the way that resources could have been consolidated is that, it's simple maths, that you have a fixed number of resources to create a thing. The less the thing is, breadth-wise, $1 million might make a fucking amazing techno-thriller action short film, but might make a fucking crap 2-hour action film. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's the thing, though. This had to be a grand epic. It had to have such a incredibly long runtime. It had to contain every reference to every project. It just had to be
which again, as we said,
tribute.
Only means something to him.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's the thing. Gus and I could, pull a bit of a Quentin Reviews, make this a fucking 7-hour long video where we looked into and read and watched every single thing referenced in this, but it wouldn't enhance the experience.
No, I cannot imagine.
There is not a single... Yeah, there's not a single detail I could learn about, Balloon Belly Woman that would be oh, this has clicked for me now. I get it. Everything she does in That One Amazing Movie is so much more compelling and entertaining now.
No, yeah, it's just ultimately this is the pinnacle, I think, of over-ambition.
When Meg and I went to log and review this on our Letterboxd, we found out that we are the first people to have watched it and reviewed it on Letterboxd.
And now I am the third person to have watched it on Letterboxd.
If even two of you go and, two of you prospective audience members go and, buy this thing on Amazon Prime or rent it, it will probably result in, the best creative financial week of Imari Stevenson's life.
And honestly, given all of the shit we've said that is in this, it's hard to recommend it to anybody, but if you want to see, if any part of this you were I have to see this to believe it, go check it out. What's the worst that can happen other than you waste 3 hours of your time?
I'm so weirdly ethically split about this, because I do believe there is a lot you can learn from it, and it's a media experience I'm glad I have, but I've learned my lesson from some of our previous mistakes, and especially just taking what is there in front of us. I know he's neurodivergent, but a lot of fucking people who contribute to this channel are neurodivergent, and based on the beliefs espoused by this movie, Imari Stevenson is not a guy that I think I would really want anything to do with, personally or professionally. And I don't endorse him as a person.
No, not at all. I mean, I can only hope that in real life he is as hopelessly incoherent and ineffectual as this movie makes him appear.
Man, one thing I can say is, I think even after this, it is going to be a long, long time before I stop thinking about this film.
Yeah, no, that's not nothing at all. Thank you all for coming along with us on this one amazing journey about one amazing movie.
We were pretty amazed in the neutral sense of the phrase, and as we said at the start, be sure to check out Sorting Algorithms, check out his stuff, like, comment, subscribe, tell him the Dire Boys sent you. If you want to support our creative work, which is less fucking deranged than this and a little bit more focused, check out the Kingmaker Histories audio drama for steampunk, crazy fantasy. Check out Mayfair Watcher Society for us collaborating with Bloody Disgusting and renowned horror artist Trevor Henderson to create a spooky anthology.
If you have watched this entire video, this entire thing, with me and Henry talking about something that, nobody, not even us, could truly even possibly stomach or fathom, and you have not subscribed to the Dire Gentleman channel, I just gotta wonder why. Because we've definitely got better videos about more fun things than this. And we're also trying to reach 100,000 subscribers this year. So if you stick around, you subscribe to the channel, who knows? Maybe we'll do our own amazing movie at some point.
God. And to be fair,
imagine?
if you just like really long videos like this, we have a whole fucking playlist of just long-ass videos you can stick on in the background. It is good for drawing and gaming and shit.
Here's the thing, we're a very varied channel. We like to do a lot of different things. The idea that this video would be anyone's gateway drug into the channel is a prospect that I don't even want to imagine. But if that is you, welcome aboard. I'm glad you like weird things and are fascinated by strange art the way we are. And it's only going to get stranger.
Yeah, all that's left to say is, it's climax time.